Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here today to review All of Us Are Dead, Season 1, Episode 4. So, if there's one thing that I could probably go on and say for this episode, and it actually would fit this episode quite perfectly, I could go on and say I don't give a crap about this episode. And it would actually fit this episode quite perfectly, because we're going on, and seriously, we're gonna have to, like, hey guys, let's showcase how, if you guys don't have a toilet in this episode, what can you do? How can you take a dump in this show? How can you pee? But hey, wait a minute. Whoa, 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 whoa. Like, this is a TV show, and we just can't show this kind of stuff. So we gotta figure something out. Wow. Why do we have to take so much time to do that in the show? But not only that, why did we even have the orange gibberish character that is introduced upon this episode? Why does he even exist? This character is to just be a moron. that I apologize for the actor, but like, this character is to be stupid, and I don't like that it even exists. And I'm sure this guy is probably going to get more and more screen time as the show probably goes along, when they just need to just stretch some more time out. Oh my! Please, in the next episode, kill the vlogger off. I would appreciate it. Because it feels like in this episode we've kind of wrapped up certain episodes where I'm like, good. Like, we don't have a lot of marinating time with certain characters, because I was hoping, like, dude, I don't care about these things of dialogue. And it obviously feels like they weren't going anywhere anyways, so it's good that they just wrapped those bad boys up for me. I appreciate it. One thing that I want to possibly go on and apologize about was simply, I think I ended up mispronouncing some girl's name in the last episode. The girl that was going on and just giving birth upon a bathroom. I think that girl's name was actually Park Hee-soo, and I think I ended up actually calling her Kim Ji-min. Kim Ji-min, I think, is actually in this episode, and she's talking to the group, where I think Park Hee-soo, I think, was the girl who was to deliver this child. It's very confusing with a bunch of numerous names here, because a lot of people have the same name. It's not my fault that I can easily get a number of people confused with a number of people that have the same name, and there's a bunch of people that have the same hairstyles. Things can get confusing. I apologize. But it's kind of regardless, because or it's kind of a waste, because really there's a number of characters that probably may not live to see the day past this episode. Sadly enough. So, so that's all that I really have to say about this episode in a cryptic-like sense. I think let's just bust out the double five. There's nothing in me that is to just want to just go more in depth about about this episode whatsoever. But I feel like I'm going to go in depth and talk about it, and see if anybody else did really give a crap about this episode. Man, how could they just showcase to us anything else that is to be a thing in our lives? Um, like, I don't know. I like what they were doing with Chong Sung's mother, and I kind of was hoping there would be some kind of potential there with this character. But anyways, so it is what it is. Let's just go into spoilers. Let's go out of our way to say it's about that time to go into spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about the time we get to spoil this episode. I kind of would like. I kind of like that there is to be certain characters in the thick of the zombie thing. Uh, but I kind of also find it boring that there's so many people just kind of hiding in one room and they're just kind of waiting things out, and it just like that leads to just dialogue. Like I liked it in the early stages where at least it's like you'd have these people just kind of waiting in this room, but the zombies were trying to get in. And I was like, oh, okay, I can just be like interested in that, but I can't just be like I want to see that happen all the time. Like I don't want to just see like people just going on like, "Oh, I guess we're completely and utterly safe. What are we even doing wanting to call for help or whatever because dude, we got this room on lockdown." Like why do we even need to go and find food and water and whatever? No. We can just die of starvation or thirst right in this room. Heaven forbid you think of anything else, but who's gonna poop next? Figure it out on this episode. So, spoiler time, let's go into spoilers. So, in the very beginning of this, we have this character that is to be the worst character I've ever seen, called Orange Gibberish. Orange Gibberish. That's how excited I am about this character. And so we have this character who is bursting the bubble or bursting the story or whatever goofy crappy thing he's like myth busting freaking like hey, I heard that there might be zombies over in this location, so I'm going to try to bust that and just see if these zombies do really exist. Why would you risk? You're a moron. And I think everybody else would have that clear consensus. Would anybody feel a justification that this guy should be risking his life for likes and views? I don't think so. Because we have the guy who freaking the whole entire time he's going through and like pushing himself to more and more dangerous territory. He's going like, "Come on, guys, give me more likes and give me more views. Come on, I'm risking my life here." How about you go to a place where you're not risking your life? You're a moron. You're the stupidest character. Obviously. There are certain characters running around because they have a goal, like Shang Tsung's mom, who's desperately trying to get to her child, her kid. That makes sense. That makes sense for her to be like running off and like, oh, I'm gonna try to get to my kid, and that's all that matters. Like this guy is just going into town because he's stupid, and hopefully this guy is like for whatever thing that he's hooked up into, hopefully he's like freaking getting monetized because this guy is gonna get paid to get killed because that's really what's gonna happen. This guy is basically like it's blood money. Like whatever he's making is pretty much blood money because people are either dying around him or he's going to die either way. Kind of does feel a little bit like Dawn of the Dead 2004 though, when we have at some point where they have that like video at the end of Dawn of the Dead 2004 where they're kind of taping what's going on that island, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but it gets interesting at the very end. So let's go into it. So we have these students who are going on and speculating what is to have gone on with Nayan and Miss Park. The two people that left from the last episode, they're all theory crafting if this girl is okay or not. Like, why not just do this thing called have another team of cameramen make their way to these people and find out if they're alive or dead or not. Don't have another group of people like, oh man, we should kind of figure out if they're dead or alive or not. We really need to figure this out. How about you go on and frickin' show it to us? So we go on, we have all the people that are kind of asking, like, well, do you think that we should go on and try to, like, figure out if they're okay? Like, well, hey, like, if they didn't scream or if they didn't make a lot of noise, like, I think they're okay, right? What if they just threw their voice out at the last second? You don't know. Like, are you a voice doctor? No. A voice doctor? What the is that? A throat doctor? Maybe they suffered in silence. You don't know. Maybe they're just like, no, I'm not going to go on and scream and yell, because when thinking about it, if I am to scream and yell, more zombies would be coming over here, and I am putting other people in jeopardy by screaming and yelling. So those kids will never know that those two characters are dead. Because we can't do this thing called bring a camera team to where these people are and figure that out. Which will do that exactly within one episode from now. So now we have it to where we start to have certain characters who are just like, hey man, like, I think I'm gonna have to take a dump. Like, what are we gonna do? And so they're like, well, like, we have Dae-soo, or Yang. We have Yang Dae-soo, who decides, like, hey, how about we just kind of, like, hang off to the side of this window and then just take a dump that way. And, like, guys can just go on and just, like, pee right off to the side of this. And we're going on here, and we have this guy with this idea, and I'm like, well, it's not like they're going to showcase this on this show, because that seems weird. So they have to figure out a way to now, like, censor this whole thing, and then also have it be in some other room where the rest of the cast isn't in, so they don't have to focus on that. And so they also have to figure out how to basically make the weirdest makeshift toilet that I've ever seen in my life, because I'm like, you know what? There seems to be a number of items in the, like, the broadcast room that they are in that could go on and seemingly be a makeshift toilet. Like, basically, you could just find a bucket big enough, and, like, there you go. That's your business. Your business. So, but instead they go and take all these file cabinets and is to make this kind of, like, bathroom stall, technically. But we also, if this bathroom moment isn't enough, we also have the paramedics with the assemblywoman and the those people. We have to go on and also have them figure out how to make their bathroom too. I'm like, man, this bathroom business is just eating up a load of time in this show. And if there's anything that could just irritate the out of me, is to just see this kind of being played out on the show. Just taking a dump. I'm literally watching somebody taking a dump on this show. Wow. That's where we've come to. So yeah, so, like, we have them makeshifting, like, a for the EMTs, they weirdly take this chair cushion, not the chair. Heaven forbid we do that. No, we have to take the cushion out of the chair and use that as a toilet. I'm like, what? Why wouldn't they have just cut a hole out of the chair and then just like, hey man, yeah, there we go. Right onto the ground. Who cares, right? Because we're probably not going to be taking a dump all that often, right? But, okay. Man, I can just, like, what if this is going to take months for them to, like, how, like, there's going to eventually be aroma, there's going to eventually be a smell. I really think that they should have gone on and taken the risk to, like, okay, well, the closest toilet is here, so let's go on and, like, try to make a run for it to try to, like, go from this room to a bathroom, because I think, obviously, the archery team, as well as the two other people are seemingly doing something right. So let's cover all the other stuff that's going on besides people wanting to take a dump in this show. Speaking of the archery team, let's go and cover those people. So we go on, and we of course have Park Mi Jin and Yu Kun Sung and Kang or Jang Ha Ri and Jung. Sure, just uh um yeah, we have all those characters, and we really have it to where they have no real dialogue. I spent so much time talking about these characters, but they don't really have any real dialogue that matters. Basically, the only thing that does matter, it seems like these characters are going to leave this bathroom soon and are going to go off to see if they can go on and get like both food and water, because they're really looking at, like, well, how long do you think that we're going to be able to survive in this one spot? Because they can go and drink off the sink, and so there's water for you, but at some point they're going to have to go on and need food. So we're kind of pushing on that. We're of course having it to where Mi Jin is wanting the archers to go on with her to just kind of start to explore here. And really, you would think that the archers would just go on and just start popping off these zombies anyways, because they got an endless supply of possible weapons or bullets at their disposal, which is basically just like, hey, kill a zombie and then pull out the arrow, kill a zombie, pull out the arrow. Endless supply. So, especially if they do it one at a time, or they kind of take turns and then rip out the arrow, or just have like one person kind of like grabbing the arrows as one person is to be firing it, which is the whole reason why the other two people are probably just there. So we go off, and it seems like these two girls are going and like they're talking about things and then talking things out, and while they're walking off, we had the one girl who's saying like, man, she's so cool, and like she walks like next to her. I'm like, why are you guys doing this at night? Like, if anything, I would have waited for the very next day, because I'm like, dude, I ain't taking freaking chances. Like, you can see better during the day. But anyways, you would have thought, since these zombies have like the 7 Days to Die soundtrack to them, you would have thought that immediately like they would be more vicious during the night, but I guess they really aren't. Because they sound just like the zombies from 7 Days to Die, or Day of the Dead. That show, exact same. But anyways, so covering any other stuff. So the one kid who is to be from the cafeteria, the uh, Jung, the cafeteria kid, is to go on and is to get out of the cafeteria and is starting to go through through the outside of the school to try to make a run for it. And so this guy has like a knife in his mouth. I'm like, how is that? Like, I was thinking, how is this going to go horribly awry that at some point he was going to die because he, like, freaking just. Uh, he all of a sudden gets this bike and the bike doesn't even work. And I'm like, oh my god. So I would have thought that this guy would have just ate it freaking on the ground or something. And he would have got, like, a freaking knife through the mouth or something. But I guess no. Like, this guy just books it and just freaking makes it out of there, tossing the bike behind him and just running to where he goes on into the principal's office, and the principal's like still behind this desk, is like, oh god, hopefully nothing happens to me. And so this guy Yoon is going into this office and just kind of chillaxing, and the principal all of a sudden makes himself known. And so now this principal is kind of dictating to this Yoon guy, to like telling him what to do. It's like, oh, hey, go in the parking lot and get my car and bring it in here and bring it to me, basically. Just hand it over to me. Like, I want to actually see, I actually want to see the car. Like, that's not legitimately what he says, but like, how exactly, like, will it matter for you to get this car when you still have to worry about the zombies and such? Like, this makes no rational sense to me, but it is what it is with the story. So we have Yoon that is not wanting to do what the principal, of course, wants, because we have it to where there's certain times where it seems that adults in the story are to kind of tell these students what to do, because they still think that they are at a point where it's like, oh, well, you should listen to your elder. I'm like, dude, the world is freaking ending. I'm not gonna listen to a thing you say. Like, no, I'm just gonna sit here, freaking chillax. Like, you know how much running I had to do outside there? You know how much, like, life of which that I had to risk? Where this principal is just like, oh, hey, can you go on and risk more of your life to just get my car for me? You, no. So Yoon just goes on and is just so sick and tired of this principal, and so he just ties him up. And so we'll leave it at that, because we have a number of characters that are going on and trying to do certain tasks here. And so we go on and we have the rooftop kids. Of course, both Yoon-ji and Kim. And so we again have it where it seems that these kids are contemplating, man, I hope, like, I hope this school just starts to be lit on fire. Man, I can't just wait for everything to just get burnt and everything to just get set ablaze, because then this zombie thing won't spread, kind of thing. And also, it'll be like, wipe everything out. Wouldn't that be great? I'm like, man, these characters are dark, but not only that, we have Kim who confesses to Yoon Ji that it seems that this guy had found out that there's a possibility that the video that Kim was trying to say was to not see the light of day is probably going to see the light of day anyways, because Yoon was to go on and have this phone that was going to post the video at a certain time unless Kim was going to have the money. And so the very next day, Min's like, oh my god, well, what time is it that this video is going to be showed at? It's like, well, 9. It's like, so we go on and we have Yoon-ji now scrambling to go and find where all these cell phones are, and she's breaking all of them. And so now we go on, we have our characters, we have Chong Sum and we have Bear Sue, who are going on out of this window, and they're climbing to go and find other rooms, hopefully so they can either find food or possibly just find if there's a much more safer room at a lower level of things. So we have these two characters, and at one point we have them kind of joking around where Chung Sung and Bear Sue are kind of talking about, like, hey, so are you going to go on and date Ung Jo? Like, dude, I wouldn't give a shit about that right now. Like, I don't know how many times any number of these characters would just... It seemed like they would get killed off. And I think we've kind of gone on and given us this illusion that we're going to have a character again get killed off in this episode, but I doubt it. Like, until I get to see this person's dead corpse just flopping around like a zombie, then, like, I will say that this character is to actually be legitimately dead. But like, what they kind of did with that early episode is just making me kind of, like, paranoid that I'm like, no, I'm weirdly still thinking that this guy just still has some branches of life left into him. So all of a sudden, while these characters are scrambling to make it to this one room, finding out that there are to, of course, be this other room that has to have a number of zombies in it. So Bersu and Chung Sung are going into this room, and oh, I forgot about Chung Sung's mom. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second here. I'll finish up the rest of this. We go on and have them desperately finding out that one, the principal, of course, had been killed by Yoon, and then Yoon decided to freaking just bolt and run off. But then we then go on and have Yoon Ji that decides to scramble off to make it to these cell phones and just try to break them all. And then once Chung Sung and Bear Sue are to be noticed by this one girl, she's all of a sudden on this rampage to go and start killing both these boys, because it seems like she's probably going to turn into a zombie soon anyways, because at some point Yoon Ji was trying to make it to this one part of the school, and we have these zombies just start to swarm her and start taking probably good chunks out of her, making us realize that this girl is probably going to turn soon. So now that we got that out of the way, because we have Chung Sung who's scrambling to get this cell phone, so that way, again, they can go on and, like, update their Facebook or get their emails or... What can they really do at this point with the cell phone? I feel like a cell phone is now to just be a waste, because we have so many emergency services that can't really do anything right now. Like, if... if we are to have it to where these guys are to try to call now to just say, hey, like, our high school is getting overrun by zombies. When are you guys going to come and protect us? I think that these people are on their own. I really think so. I don't think there's going to be somebody that's going to drop in and be like, I'm going to save you. No, it's not going to happen that way. I also have this distinct feeling that Jo and the EMT, the main guy, both of those characters, I think there's something about them, and I think that they're probably going to end up. Uh, Plus, that's the thing that I also hate about like going on and accidentally seeing photos of things, because then that'll immediately tell you some stuff about this show. Um, but yeah, like we'll just leave it at that because I hate just accidentally seeing certain things that kind of reveal stuff, because I feel like if I'm to go on and get a thumbnail for an episode or something like that, I would have to go on and like go and try to find like the episode, and that's it. Otherwise, I'm gonna get ruined with all of these things. So, but let's push on. So uh, eventually, what ends up happening is we, of course, are to have Chung Sung and Bear Su uh, running, of course, from out of this room, and we also have Yoon, who is chasing after Chung Sung, and so we have at the end of this episode where we have this flinging of this knife that is just supposedly going to Chung Sung, but I'm sure it's going to be nowhere near hitting him or killing him or whatever. So I thought that was kind of a goofy thing to just put into the end of this episode. So, uh, so going on in here, huh, we also have it where we have Orange gibberish that is just making his way through town, walking fast. He's homebound and whatever. The 1,000 miles song. Uh, so we go on and we have this character that is to be forced to now be stuck on this like playground, and he has nowhere to go because there's so many like children, I'm assuming, chasing after him. You can't really tell all that well because of the way of the footage, and so maybe at some point we're gonna have some like leaked footage from this guy, or maybe the camera is gonna be hoisted by some zombie, and a zombie is gonna be Orange Gibberish's cameraman. So we also have Mr. Lee going and talking to that detective, and we have kind of more of the same of dialogue between Mr. Lee and this detective, but we get a little bit revealing of more of Jin Soo's story, where we of course have Mr. Lee going on and talking about Jin Soo and his wife still being infected, and that there seems to be no antidote, and because Mr. Lee couldn't come up with one, and so really Mr. Lee is blaming these bullies for what he had to try to desperately do for his son to keep his son alive, to reverse the fact that his son was to take his own life, and Mr. Lee was trying to save him by introducing this aggressive hamster rat thing that just didn't turn out the way that Mr. Lee wanted, or he wanted to just kind of eventually turn around and figure out this cure, which he couldn't. So we really just go on and have Mr. Lee also blaming the school for protecting these bullies. To where we even have it where like the principal is to mention that he had went on and protected Yoon before, uh, with that whole driving situation, with this whole driving situation where the kid shouldn't actually drive. But now, like, especially I guess since like there is no law really, we had the principal was asking this kid like, yeah, you can drive, right? So you can go and get my car. So because I protected you before when you driven and you weren't supposed to. So, but yeah, we had it to where the principal was and a number of the kids or a number of the teachers were going on protecting the bullies, going on and having the bullies go on and say it's like, well, like I think we're just having fun, right? We were just having fun, and it just got out of hand. It was all an accident. Like it isn't murder. It's just really just an accident. And Mr. Lee was trying to get justice for his son, but we had it to where, of course, these people are going on and saying like, well, hey, yeah, like these kids are just really young, and like we can't just like throw the cuffs on them. We can't just slap the cuffs on them. They're young. Like you know what? So these kids can get away with murder as long as they're a certain age range, right? All of a sudden, once he flipped that age, like man, we should just book him, Dano. Freaking murder first degree. How quickly could we just murder these guys up? So yeah, like we had Mr. Lee who's kind of forced to make his son defend himself because we have at one point where uh, we had this kid who was forced to be in this washer and go through this cycle, and this kid comes home and Mr. Lee is just telling his kid, it's like, can't you just defend yourself for once? Can't you just fight these bullies? Can't you just do this, kid? Can't you? So that's legitimately what we have all in this episode is just a lot of boring just huh. And this is all just like prequel stuff that should have happened just so early in this show, but instead they're waiting for us to like hear about all this song and dance now, and it doesn't matter now. It's not as effective as it would have been if it was like in the early stages of the show. So we have Mr. Lee that's just all like rah rah rah, like I'm blaming society, I'm blaming anybody else but me, and we have the detective that kind of calls him out on that, but he's just like, nah, I think it's anyone else but me. So the detective is to go on and realize that this police precinct is getting evacuated. So he's like, well, we have to switch gears here because it seems like this police station is getting evacuated. And so while they're doing that, we go on and we start to have this police precinct that starts to get zombies coming in and into it and sort of infecting people. And so it ends up that certain people are becoming zombies, and so we have the detective, of course. Let's get his name correct for once. Song. We get Detective Song, that is to, of course, almost get attacked by a certain zombie, but luckily, I guess there's to be this evacuation like chains that were put on certain prisoners, and so Song just barely was protected from this one zombie. So we have Song going and scrambling and kind of like dodging as if he's playing like freeze tag or something, or he's just playing regular tag, I guess. So we have this guy who's like dodging, dipping, ducking, freaking these zombies, and all of a sudden he's going to this one detective who we have Detective Song who almost goes and like boots this guy in the face. He's like, "Oh no, I'm not a zombie. I'm okay. I'm okay." And so we have this detective who pulls and grabs this guy, and supposedly Mr. Lee, the reason why Mr. Lee isn't with Detective Song is because uh, Lee separated from Song, and so uh, Mr. Lee got bitten by one of the zombies. And so he's like, well, since I'm gonna freaking turn anyways, we go on and we have Mr. Lee, who is to basically block and push all these zombies like away for Detective Song to make it out of here. Detective Lee or Detective Mr. Lee is saying to Detective Song that there is to be a notebook that Mr. Lee is to have at school. So this guy should go off, if anything, to go and get this notebook because that's probably going to be the one saving grace of all this. So we have this detective that's going to have to forcibly scramble to this school to get this notebook. And so we have this one guy who's following him. And so we have Detective Song who tells this other detective or this other police officer, hey, if I don't make it, make sure you go into this one area to get this one notebook because it might be the whole answer to all of our problems. As this guy is just kind of disoriented, he's just like, what? So he has to kind of be repeated and told exactly what to do and what to say and what to whatever. So I feel like for the most part, I feel like it's most of this is to have been covered within the show, and plus also there isn't really much to just talk about in this one. There's not much good going on in this episode, in all brutal honesty. Um, but I think that's it. So I think I'm going to call this one a review. Thank you for watching any number of these. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for all your hard work for listening to me, really. Because like people are like, hey man, like do whatever you can do however you can do it, and whatever, and I appreciate it. But anyways, when really looking at this, like I am just so like, bah, I got one maybe last review into me. Into me? That doesn't sound good. I had one last review to possibly do today. So hopefully I can get that one out. Hopefully that one's gonna be like the easiest freaking review to do. It's gonna be the latest recent episode of Book of Boba Fett. So it seems from what I've seen from that so far, it might be a really easy thing to just talk about. So hope for the best for that one, because this is at the latest part of my day, and I had gone on and also I did an additional review also, just kind of keep for cold storage, but that might see the light of the day sometime soon, and I'll just go on and just keep kind of putting out other videos at some point. Or just kind of keeping certain videos off to the side. But anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody. I had just realized. So I didn't cover much of the EMT stuff or the EMS stuff, the paramedic stuff. I didn't cover much of that. So we of course go on and have this paramedic who's Anjo's dad is to go on and hear word that there's a chopper coming for the assemblywoman, but it's going to be like 11 o'clock in the morning the next day. And we, of course, have this guy who's going on, who's, of course, uh, the aide, the chief aide, and he's going on and like saying, it's like, well, why can't it be 11 tonight? Like, this is an important woman. And so we of course have like the paramedics is like, I don't know, I guess they just really can't get choppers out here. um like they can kind of fly overhead a number of places, but I guess they can't land anywhere right now. Because we go on, and we also have at some point where Chung Sung's mother was going on and trying to make it to the school, but all of a sudden she is to re-meet up with uh, Young, and she ends up getting killed. She ends up getting swarmed by a bunch of zombies who all start tearing her apart because we have Shang Tsung's mother who thinks that this is to be Shang Tsung's friend, but it's not. It's a guy that's a zombie now, and she didn't realize it. So all of a sudden, she got swarmed by all these zombies and killed. So we go on. We have the paramedics just kind of waiting this out, and not quite sure exactly if this is their exact title, but I'm going to keep calling them that anyways. So we push on here, and we are to of course have these people transition to make it to the roof, and we of course have this chief aide that's like, I don't know if we're gonna make it to the roof. So we go on, we push on and have these guys go out there, and so we have the paramedics that's going on and kind of holding off by using file cabinets and stuff, all these zombies. And so we have them forcibly taking forever to break through all these doors to make it to the roof, to go on and still find out that the roof is to, of course, be uh, kind of locked off. So we go on and we have one of the paramedics that has a bolt cutter. And so we have this one paramedic who uses a hose to kind of push these zombies back. And so we have this hose that's kind of used as a hindrance like thing. And so these guys are taking forever to break open this lock, to where we have all the people who are like, hey man, let's all try to use our strength, just kind of break this thing. I'm like, I'm sorry, like, bolt cutters are really hard to use. Like, I've personally used bolt cutters myself, and I can't see with the way that they do that, that like somebody could easily just like break that kind of, like, it's really hard for you to just do bolt cutters, but it looks easier than it looks harder than this show is to like showcase here. So we go on and we have them get these bolt cutters, and they break the lock, and then they go onto the rooftop, and now they're just kind of waiting things out, kind of waiting for this chopper to arrive. And who knows if this chopper is even going to really come, or if it does come, if they're going to even be able to use this chopper. And so really that's what happens with that. We have at one point where Anjo's dad's uh, like like coworker is also thinking that Anjo's dad is to be a zombie, but then he kind of like pushes his body back up, and he's like, "Oh, hey, like you're still okay. You're still a normal you." And he's like, "Yeah, like I'm just tired." So really, they make it off to the roof, and then they're just kind of waiting things out to just kind of see how things are going to go. So speaking of going, I think it's about that time to get the heck out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.